Good evening, India. This is Sean Shankaran from Bharat Ki Awas. I have Sam Pitroda and great minds like Dr. Trilochan Shastri with us today. We are going to continue talk about Indian democracy and multiple contexts. Maybe I think Dr. Trilochan Shastri, we may invite him to talk about electoral bonds, which he has been championing and helped India see the light on that biggest extortion. So, and I'll before that I'll let Sam Pitroda, as usual, give a quick introduction. Today we are going to discuss about the EVM context. This is going to be EVM DemocraZy. So part 2. We discussed about the same topic on December 2023, which created a lot of interest in Indian media and Indian civil society. So today we are going to discuss that again, given the fact that there are a lot of findings from the civil society on this aspect, that there are a lot of discrepancies with respect to number of votes polled and the EVM counts given by election commission. I'll let Sam Pitroda give a quick introduction and then we'll come back to the community discussion. Go ahead, Sam.
Thank you, Sean. Greetings from Chicago. As always, it is a pleasure and privilege to be with you all. This is an interesting group of concerned people who come together every week. It started with a small little group, and I believe it has grown to about 600 to 700 people every week. And if you take into consideration all of the people who join after and watch, the numbers are very large. So I'm really thankful to you all for your interest. And there is a lot to discuss and learn from each other. So this is a platform where we all get opportunity to interact openly on variety of topics that interest all of us more about India. Recently, we have had series of conversations on elections. I'm deeply engaged with variety of people still talking about EVM. There are people who believe that everything is not that crystal clear. When people say that technology has become a tool for transparency, there is other side of the coin, and that is technology has also created confusion in the election process. When I see pictures of thousands of EVMs being moved from place A to place B, with people hanging around with dongles, fixing this, fixing that, plugging, unplugging, I get very uncomfortable. Machine is one part, but the entire process, who does what to whom, when, how, based on whose instructions, raise more questions for someone like me who understand electronics reasonably well. So to say that electronics has brought in transparency and confidence, I would say that EVM machines have brought in a lot of mistrust in the system. Of course, Election Commission has one view. They are entitled to their view, like I'm entitled to my view. So things are not yet sorted out. There are court cases being filed. There are mismatches of numbers. Elections have been lost and won with very little margin. I was talking to somebody from Orissa last night, and he said, a lady in Orissa won. It was almost declared. They were ready to give her a paper that you won, and then all of a sudden something happened, and she lost by some few votes. I don't know all the facts, but the conversation was centered more around counting, tabulating, finding extra votes somewhere. There are lots of cases right now where huge number of extra votes have been found. Someone said almost crore extra votes have appeared. I don't have the facts. But I know there are experts looking at it, very carefully examining. I just saw this morning a court case being filed in Delhi, I assume, against Election Commission, Narendra Modi, Amit Shah, and others by Supreme Court lawyer Pracha. So, lot of activities still are pending related to EVM counting and casting. There are still, I am told, about 35, 40 days left to file court cases, and I'm sure you will see many more, because several candidates have lost by a very small margin. And if you start narrowing in on this process, you might find results changing a little bit here and there. Some people have shown concerns about elections in Orissa, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat. I don't know how much of that is true, but these are the questions that people need to ask and find right answers. So in a nutshell, EVM is not over yet. It won't be over for a while. So you can't close the chapter and say everything is dunky-dory. A couple of days ago, I had an interview by one of the YouTubers, and the question was, what is the next step from this result? So I'll briefly just repeat what I said, because I think it's important for all of us to understand when we look at the future. So the conversation was, now that the elections are over, people of India have spoken, and people of India have very clearly said that we want democracy versus authoritarian government. We want our constitution to remain intact. We don't all believe in religion being in the forefront. We want peace. We want to live in harmony. And we want focus on economy, employment, education, inflation, challenges of the farmers, young women, and we want inclusive India. That was the message, irrespective of who looks at the results. So 5 things are important. First, for Prime Minister himself to recognize that this message needs to be articulated in all the actions and activities of the Prime Minister. He is not a Prime Minister of BJP, nor one group of people, but he's the Prime Minister of a nation. And he is running a coalition government, and he must pay attention to all these 5, 6 issues. He cannot assume that business is as usual and go on doing what he was doing in the past. But he must focus on paying attention to the voices of the people that have spoken. If he doesn't, we have a serious challenge ahead of all of us. 2, opposition must stand up and be more active, more aggressive, saying people of India have spoken and they want opposition to be strong, vocal, demand, and not just boycott and let government decide to do whatever they do. Boycotting discussion is not an challenge. The real challenge is to put on table right issues for conversation, debate, discuss, and decide what is in the interest of the people of India. Three institutions on their own must listen to the voices of the people and say we got to be independent, autonomous, responsible, transparent, and we cannot buckle up or bow down because of the pressure coming from the political bosses. This is true for police, income tax, ED, judiciary, election commission, universities, you name it. Every institution must pay attention to the voices of the people during election and their vote. Next, civil society must become more active, more aggressive, because that's what people want. If democracy is to flourish, people will have to participate. It cannot be democracy by the government only. It is by the people, for the people, of the people. So civil society must be much more active, aggressive, and not keep quiet. I've just seen some news about Arundhati Roy and what she said in 2010. And these kinds of things bother me. Fine, maybe what she said was not right. But to open up after 13 years, there has to be a reason. And I'm sure there is a good reason. But the key is, I may not agree with you, but I will defend your voice to, or your right to say it any day, any time. It is more about the right or freedom of speech than about the content. Content, we can agree, disagree. But you can't take away my right to say what I want to say. I think they are very fine lines, and this kind of conversation will decide what kind of democracy we want to build. And finally, media. Media will have to pay attention to the voices of the people and not take one side and constantly go on building one individual as the ultimate answer to everything, hero. They do it in cartoons and they do it in a very subtle way. I saw a cartoon where Prime Minister is dancing, saying, I won, and I defeated everybody. I mean, those kinds of messages are very subtle. And those messages are not in tune with the voices of the people that you heard during this election. So with this background, we can have a series of conversations on how do we keep our democracy alive? How do we move forward? Okay. And what are the real issues? I'm glad that Mr. Pracha has joined us. He can tell us next a little bit about the court case that he has filed. I mentioned to you earlier, and he's one of those very active person in the forefront fighting the battle. We may agree, we may not agree with his battle, but he is committed to free and fair election. He is committed to democracy. He is committed to inclusion. And I respect his right to speak up and explain his point of view. So with this, maybe I can request first Pracha and then Professor Sastri. Sean, is that okay?
Yes, that is perfectly fine. Dr. Shastri, are you okay to go next after the Pracha?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Pracha, just enlighten us and educate us a little bit.
Yeah, Pracha, I have one thing. See, you are kind of an activist championing the EVM thing in Supreme Court as advocate for a long time. And also you contested the election to go first-hand experience. Now you have filed a complaint. Okay, help us tell about the whole chronology.
He'll describe it well.
Yeah,
He's
go
very
ahead.
good.
Go ahead, Mahmood Pracha.
Thank you very much, Sam and Shan, both, and everybody here. I am sorry that I will have to leave early today because I have another meeting.
5-10
Which,
minutes is good enough. Just
yeah,
explain to
but
us.
yeah, thank you. But I start with a requesting note to Sam because you said something you may, or by you yourself, you meant some people may not agree with me. But all I request to those people who do not agree with me is a few minutes, and I will try to convince you with solid proof, science, and evidence. So that is what we've been doing. So to be very brief and very limited, uh, first thing I would like to say is that uh, before I very actively joined this movement of EVM uh, in January 2024, everybody was under the impression, and that impression I helped some of the people to break, was that EVM have now become a part of our legal framework for holding elections. And this is the norm. That is not true. So, first things we must all understand, and very clearly so, that even today, despite these recent elections, which have just taken place, which are just over, in a illegal manner, I would say, the norm today, even if tomorrow there is another election of parliament or assembly, then it has to be by default by way of paper ballots. That's the law, sections 59 and section 61 capital A. So if election commission wants to hold any of these elections, parliament or assembly elections, they have to bring out a special order constituency wise, citing reasons that why they want to hold elections by way of the electronic voting machines. But actually, the word used in section 61 capital A is voting machines, not electronic. But anyway, so this is the basic thing. So tomorrow, all we have to do is that ask this government or any other government which is ruling the country to hold elections as per law, and ballot papers will be the norm. That's one. The biggest problem which we faced was, and I'm again and again pointing out this, is that we could have actually achieved greater results
He was
if the
friendly.
political parties had played a role which they didn't. Because if there was a bigger mass movement and political parties had taken active role in that, then
Right. He's
paper
speaking.
ballot would have been
I'm
the
listening to him.
medium of holding elections. And I think in that case, and I can again, I don't have time today, but I can again substantiate my statement when I say, if that was the case, this BJP would not have got more than 50 seats. And I can again establish that by evidence. One of the evidence which has now flown in public domain is the data which has been highlighted by one journalist, Poonam Agarwal, who probably would be joining today in this discussion, is that about, from the Election Commission's website itself, 538 seats, there is a difference in votes polled and votes counted. So this is just a spillover, a very this is very little thing which only represents that this is a tip of the iceberg, and these many voting differences, votes polled and votes counted, in 538 seats, you can well imagine what kind of management there has been. The management is at two stages. One is at the broad level, which is by hacking or pre manipulating the machines before they are sent across the country. Second is local, manual manipulations. Both of them have taken place in a very big way. Now, the Supreme Court was lied to. Actually, the Election Commission filed false affidavits in Supreme Court in the case which was decided on 26th of April 2024. They filed false information and actually misled the court cheated the court into passing that judgment, to say the least. And I'm not for one moment saying that had it not been the case, there would have been a very good judgment. So I will not delve into that, but still, whatever said and done, this was the reason. And because one or two reasons were there which led to this judgment of Supreme Court. One was that all the petitioners, that is the people who were against the EVM, categorically said to the court that we have no doubts about the integrity of the election commission. I think that was probably one approach. I don't cater to that approach. We, in all our cases, have categorically said that election commission is not doing its work properly. They are actually cheating the nation, cheating the constitution, and we have lots and lots of proof to say that. That was one that weighed against us in that judgment, apart from things which I don't want to say. Second was that we have never produced any solid substantive proof before the Supreme Court to expect a favorable judgment. These were the two main things. Yet the Supreme Court discussed in a very elaborate judgment. About 45 paragraphs were based on the false affidavit filed by the Election Commission of India, and they categorically stated that these are the safeguards which make the machine safe, and these safeguards are just manual safeguards involving human intervention, and these human interventions were not there. Rather, these interventions were kept away to facilitate manipulations of EVM machines. That is what we have found out, and the only way of getting that information was that I contest or somebody contests the elections with the primary motive of taking out the faults of EVM system. That is exactly what we did in Uttar Pradesh, in Rampur. The lot of other civil society members chose that constituency for me. I went there and actually collected these evidences, which are impeccable, say to say, including videography, that every rule in the book was deliberately, and I'm using this word consciously, deliberately broken to facilitate and create an environment so that manipulations can happen. This is our complaint, that Election Commission, broadly our complaint is Election Commission officials, especially the 3 election commissioners, were entrusted with the EVM machines by the Constitution of India, by the people of India, to hold free and fair elections by using these machines in a procedure which has been laid down by them, Election Commission themselves, and by Representation of People's Act and conduct of election rules, which they did not. So they actually misappropriated and committed a criminal breach of trust when they broke all these laws, and they left room for manipulation of these machines, both at the central level, as I said in the beginning, and at the ground level, at the human intervention level. So this primarily is, and this is an offense punishable. If you commit breach of trust and you are a government servant, then the maximum punishment under IPC's section 409 is life imprisonment. That is the basic complaint we've made. Now, this was done as a part of a conspiracy. And who, according to the criminal jurisprudence, is the prime accused? The one who is the beneficiary of that crime. So who benefited, as we've certain facts which we have pointed out in our complaint also, that these appointments were made. The election commissioners were appointed flouting the directions of the Supreme Court. A. B. The orders for manufacturing of these EVM machines were given to 2 companies, BEL, ECIL. The Bharatiya Janata Party put their members, people directly connected to them, officially connected to them, as directors of BEL, ECIL. And these companies then got this chip manufactured from an unknown foreign source in a very hideous and surreptitious manner. Then the softwares were burnt into these chips in a very, again, hideous manner, in a very hidden manner. And these were distributed. Machines were distributed. Another point which we have, which is showing the manipulation of machines, is that the numbers, each machine, all three units, BU, CU, and VVPAT printers, have to have a unique identification number, which has to be engraved in the machines. None of the machines which I saw in Rampur, and none of the machines, I'm sure all the other candidates who have contested the elections would have machines which have these unique identification numbers as in the form of engraving them on the machines. All of them were in the form of detachable stickers. That in itself is sufficient to show that with almost 19 lakh machines missing from previous elections, which were of the same nature, that's same model, that is M3. So 19 lakhs machines missing, and there is no permanent unique identification number of any machine, then there is every chance of replacement. Then we have also, next issue we've highlighted is then all the security safeguards, starting from the first level of checking, were flouted with impunity. And in this process, diversion of funds was also there, which also consolidates ingredients of section 409. That none of them were properly videographed. So we had to approach the Delhi High Court, and we got a favorable order that now all the 543 constituencies, they are supposed to videograph meticulously, starting from the first level of checking down to the counting and safekeeping of the machines and VVPAT slips after the counting. So that thing we have tied up by way of a Delhi High Court order. That will also be used as evidence in this case. So this flouting, and we have got videos also of various opening of strong rooms where there were no seals. Then we've got videos where the thousands of people, those were the polling parties, were sitting outside the strong room where the elections were to be held. Rather, the machines were distributed. They were playing with the machines with electronic gadgets in their hands, so leaving every ground for manipulation. Then when during the polling process, that 17C is known to everyone, that procedure was not fully followed by the officials of Election Commission. That also is part of a complaint. And 17C forms, again, the second affidavit which was filed in the Supreme Court was again a lie. So that also we've complained that they filed a false affidavit saying that these 17C forms are only kept in a strong room, which is a blatant lie. Their rules say that a copy of that has to be maintained with the returning officer of each constituency, which can be taken by, inspected by, or taken by any candidate or any individual citizen of the country. That's the law. So that also we've included in our complaint. So all these various innumerable violations point only to one thing, that these elections were manipulated to help the BJP secure as many number of seats as they have got. So the prime suspects in this case, and I'm glad and I'm really pleasantly surprised that police actually received a complaint and received it in a proper manner. But I am not complicit at all. We are ready to file this case, and now this will be a proper case, because Supreme Court, while dismissing 40 of our petitions against the EVM, has said that you people directly come to the Supreme Court. We are not going to the Supreme Court directly. We have collected evidence. We've approached the right forum, police. We've given them a meticulous complaint. We have all the proofs to back the statements made in our complaint, which we are ready to supply. And IO has been appointed, very pleasantly surprised again. But we have already prepared an application to be filed in the court in the coming week, where we will request the magistrate to ask them to file a proper FIR and also to monitor the entire process of the investigation which the IO who has been appointed will conduct. Now, so this will be a controlled investigation under the supervision of uh, uh, judge. So leaving very little chance for manipulation by the IO. So that's our safeguard. Then if something is required, we will go to the Sessions Court, then the High Court, and then the Supreme Court. That would be the correct procedure. But I think we will be able to get better results at the level of the district courts only. Then second thing which we have done is that we have applied for the videography from all the 543 constituencies in the country. Now that videography or the absence of it, now that videography is a mandatory provision which has been made mandatory by the High Court order which I filed in the Delhi High Court. So now either we will get the videography from start to finish of the elections of all the constituencies, and that will be proof enough. Believe me, that will be proof enough. I will not be required, or any candidate will not, who's lost the elections, will not be required to say a word. The proof, ample proof will be there in the videography, which will be made available to us. And if the videography is not there, it is a proof manifest that there was manipulation. That's why either they have destroyed that mandatory videographs which they have taken, or they have not conducted the videograph to hide their thefts, their manipulations. So that will build up a very strong case for every constituency, especially those which we have lost with small margins, because there we will be able to supplement this broad strategy which we have with the proofs of individual constituency, for which we have already prepared a questionnaire. I've sent it to you also, and Devashayam Saab. I've sent it to Sam Saab and Devashayam Saab, that questionnaire already on the WhatsApp. So this in nutshell is our strategy. But I will end my comments saying that our efforts will be 100-fold stronger if we get, I mean, people are supporting us. There is no doubt about that. The common masses are supporting us. There is no doubt about that. Our strength is derived from there only. If political parties who are also answerable to not only their voters but the entire citizenry of India, they should also play a role. Political parties are not free birds. They are answerable to us citizens. Not only just their members, but they have a responsibility towards, like the government has responsibility towards citizens, these political parties are also answerable to the citizens of the country. So that role they have to play. I mean, that will also help them, because I sincerely believe, and I have proofs of, and trying to work out more and more proofs, that the number of seats which the opposition has won had to be far more than what they have got today, had there been no manipulations. And by manipulations, I'm only referring to the EVM manipulations. Forget about all the other manipulations which are there. So, but now I would only say this, that we should somehow impress our political parties to organize a joint campaign which will actually ensure the removal of many of the results, or annulment of various results, especially about in 50, 60, 70, 80 constituencies, which will open a ground for formation of government of the real will of the people, and not this fictitious EVM's will government. That would be my request to all the panelists, and as well as we all must use our influence to bring the political parties on board. That would really help. So we have to have a mass campaign and then a concerted legal action along with the mass campaign against the EVMs. That would be my request to all of you. Thank you very much for
Advocate Mahmood Pracha. That was a great thing, and I think you have been doing great stuff for a long time. I think it is a very exhaustive exercise what you are doing. Personally, a lot more emotionally consuming. I'm very, very glad you are able to do. Sam Pitroda, you are on mute, Sam, if you want to say about. You need to unmute yourself, Hassan. Okay, cool. Thank you. So, Mahmood Pracha, I'm going to go to Dr. Trilochan Shastri quickly to hear about another important feat Indian democracy saw recently, which is on electoral bonds. Rahul Gandhi called electoral bonds as one of the largest extortion happened across the world. So, Association of for Democratic Reforms is one of the organization which Dr. Trilochan Shastri have founded. They are on the forefront of fighting the electoral bonds in the Supreme Court for the Indian masses. I want Dr. Trilochan Shastri, he is here today to speak in Hindus for Human Rights, our friends and allies, and audience here in Bay Area. So I got an opportunity to invite him today to speak quickly about ADR and also what was his efforts on electoral bonds. Dr. Trilochan, I think you need to unmute yourself to quickly speak. Go ahead, Dr. Trilochan. Thanks for joining us and taking our invitation on a short notice.
Thank you, Sean. And thanks also to Sam Petroda for personally calling and instructing me to be here. And thanks to all the speakers.
Requesting you to be there.
Yeah, can you hear me? I hope you can hear
I
me.
can hear you.
Yeah. So I'm going to stick to facts, and I have another meeting to attend, so I'm going to do this in a short span. So, two sentences about ADR. ADR is a non-profit, non-partisan, pro-democracy institution. We support citizens and voters. We do not support any political party one way or the other. But we are not against any political party either, at least in our constitution, in our internal constitution. We filed the case against the electoral bonds in 2017, soon after it was notified. And after 6 years, the Supreme Court took it up, and I think 6 chief justices sat on it and did not find the time to hear this case. Finally, the current Chief Justice Chandrachud, he took it up in 2023, sometime in September, October, and they declared the electoral bonds as unconstitutional. So briefly, the electoral bonds, I think most people know, it was a scheme which had to change the law, amend 4 laws. The RBI law was amended, the income tax law was amended, the Companies Act was amended, and the RP Act, the Representation of People Act, was amended to enable the electoral bond scheme to be passed in Parliament. And in Rajya Sabha, where it had to be passed, they did not have a majority. So the electoral bond scheme was passed in Rajya Sabha through something called a money bill, which means that the Rajya Sabha will not vote, but will just give its recommendations. And the reason was that the BJP did not have a majority in the Rajya Sabha. So we went to the court and said that on these grounds, our grounds were very simple, that the electoral bonds remove transparency and the voters do not know who is funding whom. And this goes against the principle of democracy. And therefore, the Supreme Court finally struck it down. I will just give 2-3 examples of the kind of problems that the electoral bonds had created. One is that the Election Commission of India, which was appointed by the current government, they went on record, very surprisingly, saying that the electoral bonds will increase black money, has the possibility of increasing black money, and it is also against democracy because the electoral bonds do not allow the Election Commission to find out who is funding whom, and therefore the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, PMLA, would not be able to find out whether money is being laundered. So therefore, they are against the electoral bonds. So that is one constitutional authority, Election Commission, which said they do not want it. The other one was the Reserve Bank of India. The Reserve Bank of India also was asked officially by the government about their views on the proposed electoral bonds. At that time, it was proposed. And the RBI also said that they are against the electoral bonds. It dilutes the power of the Reserve Bank of India. it decreases the confidence of the international money markets in the power of the RBI to manage the Indian foreign exchange and interest rates and the money situation. Therefore, it should not be done. And also, they also said that it can lead to illegal activities. The third thing, which was the most dangerous, was the amendment to the Companies Act. World over, including in the United States, the power of big money to buy up governments, senators, congressmen, MPs, MLAs is always there. So by law, there is a limit on how much big corporations can donate for political purposes. In India, that law was there. That is, only 7.5% of post-tax profits can be donated to political parties. But under the electoral bond scheme, they amended the Companies Act and they said that you can donate as much money as you like. Even if you're a loss-making company, you can donate money. And the company could be registered yesterday, some shell company, and it need not be in existence for 3 years. So this was very dangerous. And when the data on electoral bonds came, so that means that black money could be given to political parties, shell companies could be set up, loss-making companies could give money to political parties. It did happen. So once the data on electoral bonds was released, what did it show? I think this is important for citizens of India and concerned people around the world to know, is that 25 companies, they had CBI raids against them, income tax and CBI raids against them for whatever reasons. And they all bought electoral bonds and gave it to the ruling party. And after the money was given, the cases went cold and there was no further investigation on these parties. Second is, to give you an example, one of the companies bought 140 crores of electoral bonds and gave it to the ruling party. In exchange, they had got government contracts of 12,000 crores. Now, this is quid pro quo, that I buy electoral bonds, I get a government contract. Now, when they get a government contract of 12,000 crores, maybe it is worth only 10,000 crores, maybe it is worth only 8,000 crores, but the government is happy to give them more money. And if there is a kickback, we need to investigate whether there was a kickback in these government contracts. So now another NGO, not ADR, has gone to the Supreme Court and asked for a special investigation. So that special investigation is going on. So the electoral bond scheme was very bad in principle, very bad in action. It brought in black money, it brought in quid pro quo, it brought in the power of the government to literally harass companies using the IB and the income tax and extort money. And it also allowed companies to get large government contracts by just buying some electoral bonds. So that is the background of the electoral bonds, and we are thankful that the Supreme Court has struck it down as unconstitutional. So I'm going to stop here because I think we can go on and on. And once again, a big thanks to Shan and Sam Pitroda and all of you for giving the opportunity to speak. And I would like to say that we would, in ADR, take a very long-term view. We may be for and against a particular leader or for and against a particular party. That is here and now. But in the long run, ADR wants to work for long-term democracy, good of the citizens, voter awareness, better governance in a completely transparent and non-partisan way. So that is our public stance. So thank you once again. So I'll stop here. And I may leave in a few minutes with your permission because I have to attend another talk.
Sure. Go ahead, Sam. You want to thank?
No, I said thank you, and you can count on our support. We agree with you, irrespective of which party. What is more important is India and people of India.
Jai Hind.
Yeah. Okay. And do I also have the permission to leave now because I have to?
Yeah, sure.
Please go ahead. No problem. But thank you both, and let's remain in touch.
Thank you. Thank you.
And anything we can do, just count on us.
Yeah.
For the right cause.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Trilochan. Thank you, Mahmood Pracha. So, without much ado, I'll go to Mr. Pugal Gandhi, spokesperson of DMK. 1 year ago, I precisely remember myself, Pugal Gandhi, Shashikant Senthil, Congress MP. We had a debate on same electoral bonds, which Dr. Trilochan Shastri is talking. I think at that time, Pugal Gandhi defined electoral bonds as a token for Hawala. I think we tried creating a lot of interesting conversation. 1 year ago, this was electoral bonds was not even a topic. So I think as a community, Bharat Ki Awas, we are trying to do a lot of interesting conversations. I think with Sam's support and mentoring, much more beyond even Indian Overseas Congress. I think Sam doesn't even talk on behalf of Indian National Congress many times. So his personal opinions are very strong and bold. Even on EVM case, he said if he's allowed, he said we need boycott election because the election commission is not providing this 100% VVPAT. So now I want to hear one of the important alliance partner of Congress, Dravida Munnetra Kalagam, Pugal Gandhi. Go ahead. So want to hear your perspectives on how you guys organize this Form 17C and bunch of things. Go ahead. Share your perspectives.
Thank you, Shan. Hi, Sam. So nice to meet you after a long time. So, our position with respect to the elections are two. One is we are more concerned about the electoral bonds, which has been struck down by the Honorable Supreme Court very recently. The other one is with respect to the booth level management, how we were able to manage in the state of Tamil Nadu without much issue with respect to the EVMs. Though we are concerned about the modalities and also the technicalities involved in the EVM. What we always have in mind and we always strategized is if we have adequate booth management, then this EVM can be managed in addition to whatever the legal recourse and the other issues which we are pursuing right now. As far as electoral bonds are concerned, as we always have the discussion, one is this is the legalization of corrupt money through scientific means by BJP, because though the BJP and the union government has proposed or made their stand very clear that these electoral bonds are anonymous, in fact these electoral bonds are not anonymous. These the main issue is these are all selectively anonymous. That is, the union government under BJP will know who is the subscriber of electoral bonds and to which party these electoral bonds are given to. That is the main issue here. Because if it is completely anonymous, then we can say to an extent these electoral bonds can be permitted. But here the problem is it takes away the level playing field of the political parties. For example, when they say it is anonymous, it is the State Bank of India which is issuing the electoral bonds. When State Bank of India issues the electoral bonds, precisely the union government is aware of the fact that who are the subscribers of the electoral bonds. So therefore, if an opposition party, if a person subscribes to an electoral bond and if he gives to the opposition party, if you tally the numbers, automatically the union government will come to know that who is this person who is giving electoral bond to or donation to the opposition party. So the next day, the EDs and income tax can raid that person or harm that person and make them not to donate for the opposition parties. That is why BJP has got the maximum number of electoral bonds in the whole system. So this takes away the level playing field, which is the vital one for the democracy. The other one is the booth level management, because when we talk about booth level management, we start this process at least. It is a continuous process as far as DMK is concerned. We start this process at least, say, for example, 1 year or 18 months before the elections, where we appoint booth level agents number 1, and who are all called as BLA 1, and booth level agents number 2, wherein the booth level agents 1 has the responsibility to verify the electoral rolls, responsibility to give the electoral rolls to the respective households. This exercise is started at least 1 year before. And as far as BLA 2 is concerned, what we do is we appoint 1 booth level agent for 100 votes in that particular booth. For assuming if there are 1,000 votes, 1,000 voters in that particular booth, there will be one person per 100, and it will be a mix and match. Out of the 10 booth level agents, 1 will be from a female candidate, 1 will be a youth, 1 will be a senior person. And we also involve all these self-help groups, so that we fix the responsibility with respect to this booth level agents, that this 100 voters, the 100 voters should come to the, say for example, polling booth on the day of election. Of course, out of this 100 voters, 50 voters will be from the opposition parties and 50 will be from the DMK. So this particular booth level agents will know who are exactly the members of the ruling party or members of the opposition parties. So on the day of election, by afternoon itself, we will know who are the ruling party members who has come and voted. So there won't be, by afternoon itself, most of the votes. Therefore, there won't be any much scope for any manipulation. Point number one. Point number two, the responsibility of this booth level agent is also to go door to door and also get the details from the voters regarding the beneficiaries of the schemes. For example, free bus pass or 1,000 rupees for women. So this particular booth level agent is responsible to get the data with respect to all these 100 under his purview. He has to come back and say, out of this 100, 80 has got the benefits or 60 has got the benefits. Then he has to give us the reason why the remaining 40 haven't got the benefits. If the remaining 40 haven't got the benefits, then he has to escalate to the next level, the higher ups, so that this benefits has to be extended. So the coverage will be very clear. Coverage will be very clear as far as this 100 will be concerned. Of course, getting the data with respect to 100 is also difficult, because out of 130 will be from the ADMK, or maybe 5 will be from BJP. So they may not give the details to our booth level agents. That we will see. But majority of coverage, say for example 60 to 70% will be covered and the data will be finalized. And so that there will be a connect between the booth level agent and the voters in that particular 100 voters in the particular constituency. And on the day of elections, it is mandatory for the booth level agent to ensure that this particular 60 people should be on the polling booth. That is his responsibility. He will be supported by the other party functionaries also. In addition to that, on the day of election, the booth agents. So what I'm trying to say is, if we have a strong mechanism, to see, micromanage and see who will vote for us, who are the beneficiaries of the schemes, who are all in the fence, then that will help us more than putting more efforts on the EVMs. Because as far as EVMs are concerned, still it is a debatable point whether EVMs are can be manipulated. That the legal issues has to be, definitely the legal recourse has to be taken up. But more importantly, our booth level management has to be robust for us to ensure that our voters are not left in the process. So with this, I think I'll give it back to Shan, and Shan, you can ask any questions or.
Sure thing, Pugal. Sam, you have any specific questions? How there is a best practice happened in Tamil Nadu, Sam?
No, I think the key really is booth level management.
Yep.
Okay. That many parties don't do as well as DMK does.
Yep. Including
okay, it's
Congress.
very clear. Okay.
And to be, we also have a data with respect to, by afternoon, we will have a data even in the centralized war room that how many people have voted in that particular booth. Not only in the village level, we have a centralized war room also. Right. And out of that, in the centralized war room, we know who are the DMK guys who have voted, who are the ADMK guys who have voted, so whoever is left out, then we will ensure that the others are also coming to the booth by afternoon.
Right. I think that's the key.
Yeah.
Is booth level management.
I think we will take some leaf out of DMK's playbook as an ally, and the Indian National Congress will follow something. Before going to the rest of the community, I want to invite Vice Chairman of Indian Overseas Congress, George Abraham, who is also passionate, who's also a technologist, who used to be CTO for United Nations before. With us today, he's in Kerala. In fact, he is participating in the NRI conference of Kerala. I'll let him speak up. He also has written a lot about EVM. Go ahead, George.
Yeah, good to be here. We just concluded the Loksabha, but of course, under the shadow of what happened in Kuwait, you heard that so many people, Keralites, died in a big fire there, and of course, as a result of it, it was shortened. But anyway, we just had at least a few hours of it. Anyway, hi Sam, and nice to
Hi,
see you
George.
too. Okay, okay. And as far as EVM is concerned, as somebody who's working the technology, even from the very beginning as a programmer, systems analyst, and then later on with all the modern things, I can say, any system can be manipulated. I don't think anything you can say we cannot change. Okay, because if we can create it, we can change it. Okay, so it is up to really the ethical and moral practices which will really guide a system with integrity. Okay, I think we simply do not have that in India. So what I heard today is I don't know whether it is true or not. I could share what I heard today in Uttar Pradesh. Akhilesh Yadav made sure that wherever they had the EVM stored was they were guarding it 24 hours, about 5 people. Okay, so I don't know whether that made the difference or something. I don't even know whether it's an authentic story, but that says so much about it. The people trust in EVM. Okay, and if that is true, then Uttar Pradesh results, is evidence of that. In states where like Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Chhattisgarh, and places where they got almost all the seats, it was like the fox guarding the chickens. Okay, we always can uh, uh, go away saying that, oh, we have no evidence, but at this point in time, they have to prove to us that it is not done. It's not the other way around. Okay, it looks like EVM issue really was out in the open, especially thanks to Samji. Once he brought it out, people really have taken it seriously. But what is happening is that there is really no organized effort, other than, of course, a group going to the Supreme Court and getting a partial judgment. There is really not a compelling, organized, intensive effort, really, from 2019.
I don't know why George thing went away. George, I will give a minute for George.
It went away because he's in India.
Yeah. Sam, as a father of Indian telecom, should answer this. We are alleging
Set of
Sam
life.
not to do the foundation of Indian telecom properly, Sam.
I know you can blame me for a lot of other things. I have no problem.
Okay. I'm now like
Okay,
now,
let's move on.
no,
Let's hear Lakshmi or
yeah. Now,
Abdul.
yeah. I want to quickly give the mic to Priyamvata from the
Ah.
community. Priyamvata, I think there is one person who is talking. I think who wants to ask a question. Jane Bido Yara. Do you want to give the mic to him so that he can ask a question from the space?
Is in my group or yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, I have.
Then
Hi, yeah, you can speak now. Yeah.
Hey, hi, Priyamvada. Hi, Sam. Hi,
Hello.
Shyam. Hello to everyone. Yep, thank you for giving me this opportunity. Yep, it was great to listen to all the speakers, like great learning experience. I have one, like, it's bothering me. Probably it's coming from a place of ignorance. But I have this question about this Poonam Agarwal story. Like, this has been a continuing theme, at least right from when she reported first. It could have been happening since even before that. But she reported it first in 2018 assembly elections, then in 2019 general elections, and then this has been so ever since. That the total of votes polled, that's released on Election Commission's own website. Like, the total is done by Election Commission officials themselves. It's released on their website, and the votes counted number is also total by EC's officials and released on their website. And it's not the same number. I'm talking only about EVM votes. And then there is a generic reason given like I specifically noted down, the Uttar Pradesh Chief Election Commissioner gave 3 reasons. One was that mock poll data may not have been cleared before the total number of polled votes was recorded by the presiding officer. So when it's removed on the day of counting, you have those 50 votes less counted from that particular EVM, 50 or whatever the number is. The second reason is that if there is a display issue or something with an EVM machine, the process is to set that EVM aside, and then the total votes polled in that EVM from form 17 or something. So you set it aside, and if the winning margin is less than the total of votes from a particular EVM, only then it's counted. Otherwise, there's no provision to count it, which I think is an odd rule. And when it's counted, you count the VVPAT slips in place of the electronic count, which is fair. But to not count is a little odd. But both these would give a count less than the number of polled votes. The third reason that's given is that the presiding officer might have recorded a wrong number on 17C. So this is very odd. Like, how can presiding officer record a wrong number, give it to all the polling agents, and then how do these agents of candidates accept that? Like, is the presiding officer not fined, or do the candidates not ask for repolling at that booth? Like, how can they just say ki it was wrongly recorded? So I am just requesting. I mean, I don't know why parties are not requesting.
Can you be brief actually on your question?
I just last one sentence. I realize I've been going on from long, but why don't parties request election commission to release booth by booth and EVM by EVM data, like 17C part 1 and 17C part 2 is EVM by EVM counted data. My hunch, and this is coming probably from a place of ignorance, is that maybe 15, 20, 25% EVMs will show a mismatch one way or the other. It could be like offsetting differences, like some will be positive, some will be negative. But for a reason I have thought of in my head, it could be a large number of EVMs. And if it is so, it's a smoking gun evidence. Like, all of India will know at one glance that there is a, like, you record 700 votes in EVM, there are 695 or 705 votes. Then it's like, I won't go into the details, but why are parties not
thank you. Actually, I just want to sum up your question. Whether as a party, Indian National Congress is doing something, is that way I can sum it up for Sam Pitroda? Sorry, I think we lost the connection. But Sam, do you think about what do you think? So I think it's pretty much about the same Mahmood Pracha, what he's trying to contest, that why election commission is not being very transparent on the booth level data and many other things.
Agree with all of that.
Okay.
That's an issue.
Yeah,
that everybody has raised, not just.
And I think the question is more on why Indian National Congress is not championing aggressively on this. It's like, okay, DMK has done it, many other parties are doing. Why Indian National Congress is not effectively doing this booth level data or fighting election commission on court and many other places? Why it's not happening?
I personally think there is no organization required at the booth level that other like DMK has. That kind of organization has not been built effectively for every candidate. There are some good examples and there are some bad examples.
Okay, thank you, Sam. I'll quickly go to Vijay Lakshmi next. Vijay Lakshmi, you have any specific question?
Shan, can you hear?
Yeah, George was speaking. Go ahead, George. You can sum it up.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I couldn't find it, to come back. That's what happened.
No issues. No.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, the issue, as I'm concerned, is very real. Okay, I think Congress really should take it up. Okay, I think they should really create a task force right now, and because right now there are how many 30 or 40, 35 seats which really BJP won by about 1,000 or 2,000 votes. Okay. In the last case I heard in Bihar, the machine kept counting, okay, and it counted more than the people on the electoral roll. So I think that could be one of the ways they will be manipulating. Okay, they could really, after a while, they could allow the count to go on, to reach a particular condition. You never know. There are so many ways you can do it. These are embedded chips. I don't think it can be manipulated from outside. I think it really takes some earnest effort to manipulate maybe at this point. But don't forget, this time there was a lot of international pressure, lot of observation, and also there are a lot of concern. So I think they might have been kind of limited by their actions, but they still did enough really to make sure that they secure the victory. That's how I feel. Okay. Otherwise, I should be convinced of otherwise. That's how I feel about it, because we should really go back and edit. First of all, let's edit some of those with the VVPAT. Okay. The funny thing is that they may have this randomly attached this VVPAT to a lot of constituencies where that candidate might have done overwhelmingly. Okay. So there's no point in doing that. But if there are cases where there is a narrow margin, I think that is a good example of really taking that and counting it again and auditing it and see whether what exactly is the real count. Okay, this is how I feel about it. Then as far as the legal issues are concerned, I think the task force maybe should be another legal group, lawyers group or something, really should start challenging some of these results, because there was one case in Maharashtra where they recounted the Congress won. Okay, so here even here in Tirunelveli, near Attingal Mandalam, the same thing happened when they recounted. All of a sudden, the candidate who won got less votes. Okay, so how that happens? Okay, so that means there are discrepancies all around. So this is my suggestion, knowing these things are possible, especially if you are interested these systems with the people who really have no moral or ethical integrity. Then I think we should really be a doubting Thomas, what we call it. We should say, hey, it is not that you are innocent to be you're innocent until proven guilty. It's the other way around. You got to prove now that you're innocent. That is how I really feel about it. I think Samji really can definitely, push, that civil society group, I think, which are really waging a court battle, to start it all over again. I think we shouldn't stop it until we have a total reviewable, auditable situation, or we should go to paper ballot. Okay. This is my feeling about this whole EVM issue. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, George. I think it's a great thought. Sam has been championing 100% VVPAT even before election, and I think we'll continue champion despite Congress stand. We will champion.
Yes, I think it's in the larger public interest. So we need to continue the focus.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you, Sam. I'll quickly go to Rama Sugandhan. Rama Sugandhan, can you come on video? So Rama Sugandhan is the Vice President of Tamil Nadu Congress. So you want to offer a couple of insight. He is the son of Valapadi Ramamurthy, past Union Minister, so who's not there with us anymore. But his, I think, imprints are with Tamil Nadu Congress still. So go ahead, Rama Sugandhan.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me in the panel. I agree with Mr. George Abraham that we should concentrate on the places where we lost by less than 1,000 votes or few thousand votes, where we should press for a recounting of votes there. And see, in Tamil Nadu, we gave a petition to election commissioner saying that first the postal votes should be counted and that result should be declared before going to the EVM. In many places, postal votes were counted at the later stage or taken into account in the later stage, which led to lots of confusion. So that should be also streamlined. That's the set procedure by the election commission, that postal votes will be declared first and then EVM votes will be counted. I don't know in how many places they followed this procedure. So this should be also addressed. And I agree with all panelists that we should strengthen our booth level workers everywhere. Like in Tamil Nadu, there are both Dravidian parties are very strong in their booth level management. So we should also try to emulate their model and replicate it all over India, so we can also be a stronger force at booth level.
Before you joined, spokesperson of DMK, Pugal Gandhi, joined us and speaking about the best practices, what they can share on Form 17C and the data collection, etc. Thanks, Ramasugandhan. I'll quickly go to, hopefully, welcome to America. Hopefully, you'll be able to meet Sam before you leave US. So, thank you. Before I go to Vijay Lakshmi, I'll quickly go to Bilal, Ahmed Bilal, who is one of our community member who's actively tracking EVM issues. You can unmute yourself. Go ahead, Bilal.
Sean, thanks for having me. Actually, I wanted to remind our esteemed guests, our audience as well. After seeing the result, which came as a relief from our worst case scenario that at least now the ruling party cannot make constitutional changes. So a lot of people are feeling the relief. But it also leads to a situation where a lot of people have put their guard down. See, in this whole matter, my careful reminder is
noise in your background. Is this due to
and also you need to really be closer to your microphone.
Yeah, correct.
Is it better now? Yeah. So one of the most careful reminders there is that in this whole matter, one has to be very logical and scientific. We cannot go along with our feelings only, right? A lot of people start, doubting that maybe after looking at the result, maybe there is only an issue of 25 or 35 seats. That's not the issue. There is a, utter lack of transparency, and a lot of the RTIs that has been filed by various, activists as well as organizations. I personally, my own personal RTI has been, given very vague answers or outright rejected. So that's one thing. The second thing is the method of manipulation, possible manipulation. One has to remember that, in your own house, you can take an example. In your own house, in the night, you close all the doors, you close all the windows, so that no one can, illegally enter your house, right? So same way with the, the election process, that you have to be careful about the booth level management as well as the core technology that is being used, whether it is a paper ballot or whether it's a machine. You have to be, certain about every aspect, because all our lives, the lives of 1.4 billion people, is, for the next 5 years, are affected by whatever the result comes out. So we have the fundamental right to be aware of every single aspect in and out, and we have to protect each and every aspect of it, whether it's booth level management, whether it's the core technology, whether it's all the other related things. The third point, very important point, was one of the comments that the Supreme Court made was like, the ballot paper is very old technology. That's not entirely true in the real world scenario. For example, the 10 countries that are, the biggest by population, all of them except India are, conducting their elections by ballot paper. And the fundamental thing is the ballot paper of is only the core technology. There are associated procedures and safeguards that are there, and they have evolved over the last many years. And modern elections with ballot paper are entirely different from elections people remember in India 20, 30 or 40 years ago. So there is a very big difference between modern elections with ballot paper and the older one. That's a very key difference on a psychological level. People have to remember. And organizations like ADR, which are doing a very fantastical job. I wanted to highlight one point about them, that they are also being targeted right now from a very psychological point of view as well. See, right now, a lot of kids, I was talking to a lot of people last night regarding the NEET matter that is happening. A lot of people, parents are angry and, horrified how the situation is developing. And we can see how the things, are happening in the real time. The denial, the methods of denial. What I wanted to point out is the methods of denial. If you recall, in old stories about spy stories and all that, we used to hear that militaries used to deny like this: that if our guy will get captured, we will disown him completely. We will deny that we have any connection to him. It hasn't happened. It hasn't, it might have been your mistake or something like that. The same
Bilal,
kind of military denial is now
Bilal,
happening.
Bilal, quickly, I think we need to sum up the show. Can you be very specific points on the EVM perspective? So that I'll go to Vijay Lakshmi and sum up the show.
Yeah, one important point I've been raising for many months is one of the there are about 4 to 5 suppliers according to ECI, and we still don't know this is a true fact. We are only going through what we have collected from different ECI statements, that there are about 4 or 5 suppliers of the core components of the EVMs, and one of the main suppliers, which is NXP Semiconductors, they themselves, I've been raising this point, and a lot of public doesn't know this. They themselves in 2019 accepted they were hacked for 3 years. 3 years, they didn't know their systems were completely hacked for 3 years. They accepted this publicly. They did a proper audit as well. They did a security audit as well, and that proved that their systems were compromised. And if you look at ECI's own book about these EVMs, they revealed that about 4,800 crore worth of EVMs were procured during that period. NXP was actually, compromised. So the company that manufactures EVMs, the ECIL and the BEL, they are basically just assembling them. They are basically just the core components are coming from these different companies, Renasa or NXP, right? The core companies from where the components are coming, they are saying we are hacked. How can we trust the thing? Like if you imagine your own food, you cannot just trust the cook. You have to check where the ingredients are coming from. So this is a very important point many people are unaware of.
Thanks a lot, Bilal. I think that's a very nice point that you have been trying to highlight. Sam, you have any perspectives to offer? Bilal's perspective is
No, just one quick comment. He talked about food. My wife was watching TV last night, and she saw that in some Indian ice cream, they found finger of a person. I mean, I just cannot comprehend how that could happen. It just, I was so disturbed last night for about an hour, saying, what's going on? So, the work habits, work norms, work environment is reflected everywhere. Okay, so why should it be perfect on EVM?
Yeah, completely agreeing, Sam. And I think Bilal's point more on how come system which is built through multiple components, when the component
same thing. Yeah, absolutely. A lot of loopholes.
Valid point, Bilal. Keep championing this thought and stuff, whatever you are doing through Bharat Ki Awaaz. And I will go to Vijay Lakshmi next. Vijay Lakshmi, sorry for holding you for a long time. Go ahead, Vijay Lakshmi.
No problem, Shan. The thing is, I interrupted because I had a question for Mr. Pacha. It's shocking that the Supreme Court does not want to address this issue at all. So my question to Pasha was, if he goes through, first filing the FIR, then going to the Sessions Court, then the High Court, and then the Supreme Court, it would take 5, 6, 10, 15 years, So when do we see justice for this issue? And the issue needs to be addressed right now. But I also had another question for Mr. Sam. Sam, I wanted to know, EVMs were brought in India by the Congress. How different would have been if the UPA government was still in power, and we would have been using EVMs, but that time BJP complained, and now they are holding on to EVMs like it's their big untold treasure which they need to hold on to desperately. Even the ECI, the fact that EVMs can be tampered can be seen by ECI's own behavior, that they are not even allowing the boxes to be touched.
They wrote a book on EVM, perils of EVM, Vijayalakshmi, BJP.
Exactly. I remember reading this article where in the US there's a regular technological fair which happens where manufacturers bring in their EVMs and allow the hackers to hack it. And whichever EVM survives that exercise is what is used. But that's not the case in India. They are not even allowing it to be touched. So that itself is suspicious. There are many reasons. I, as a journalist, have also been investigating EVMs for a long time, and I know it can 100% be tampered. There is no this. So I'm really surprised at the Supreme Court's attitude. But yes, Sam, I do have this question that this evil was brought in by the Congress. How different would it have been if UPA had been handling it instead of NDA?
I think the real problem started with VVPAT.
Okay.
EVM is a standalone machine. As soon as you put VVPAT with it, it ceases to be standalone. So when VVPAT was, when EVM was brought in, there was no concept of VVPAT. The problem has been created just because of that. And even if we made a mistake, it is time to review it. It's okay to make a mistake. It is time to review it.
Yes,
reflect on it, learn from our experiences.
Okay, Sam, the thing is, VVPATs were brought in because there were so many complaints about EVMs, and that's why it was brought in to verify. And I do not, EVMs were supposed to be standalone machines, but the fact that we can add candidates and parties later on, made it like 2 or 3 times it can be changed.
Exactly. That's where the problem started.
Exactly.
At that point in time, we should have said, look, this is not going to work.
Right. Okay. So that's it. Yeah, Shan, you can.
Thanks, Vijayalakshmi. See, I will go back to Dr. Subramania Swami's article in year 2000 in Frontline, one of the Hindu magazine, where he mentioned the RSS game plan was the article. I think that time he was not with RSS. So he mentioned about RSS game plan, how to rig the electoral system by working towards EVM. So in year 2000, I think BJP, I think Congress was in power. So I think they had a long-term vision, and they had their own people inside ECL and Bell and all these places for long. Maybe Congress might have had oversight and missed it. See, I think the very reason I see Kapil Sibal, Sam Pitrodas are actively championing this cause, independent of their association with Congress and party, is they kind of are seeing that they were part of the system which brought this into mainstream and championed it, but they missed to see this bigger picture or some of these vulnerabilities in the system, which BJP is now leveraging actively. So I think they're doing the right stuff. I think I'm with them completely on this, and let's continue fight, Vijayalakshmi.
Shan, one sentence I wanted to add to that.
Please.
Any machine, it requires public scrutiny. As you yourself said, in US, they allow the machines to be tested, right? They are not allowing it to be even tested right now. Even during the challenge they had held in 2017, if you see the conditions of that challenge, horrible conditions. You can't even touch it. You can't even open the machine. How you can call it a EVM challenge? That's one thing. Recently, a few years ago, US had some machines in certain states still. They removed that. Why? Because public scrutiny, showed that, it cannot be trusted, reliably trusted enough. The machine will give you whatever result, whatever the conditions you put it into, right? As the Supreme Court itself in the recent case pointed out, the human factor is the weak link in the whole chain, right? So if there is a bad administration that can make the machine bad, and we have been trusting ECI. ECI has had a very good history as well. For example, during the time of PN session, they conducted elections in a very honorable manner, according to many people. And during that time, you didn't need to worry about a lot of things. But now we have to check everything. So public scrutiny is always a very important part, and to make a machine reliable.
Thank you, Bilal. I think this was the main underpinning point which Sam made in December 2023 when we had a first part of the show, EVM Democracy. Mistrust is part of this now. So Election Commission and Supreme Court should do whatever best to gain the confidence back of the Indian electorate. I think somehow both of them didn't see the bigger picture. So I'll go ahead.
Yeah, just one comment I want to make. It's just I just read an article and it said that the US, like in the West, the ballot paper is considered as a gold standard because it's the trusted method of voting. And here back in India, like I was just flabbergasted. Election Commission is filing an affidavit saying that 100% VVPAT audit will take India back to like Stone Age, or it will be regressive. I mean, that is just hilarious. I mean, I couldn't have, even a small kid will tell you that, 100% checking of like in schools, you check and the entire question paper is just not the first page of your question answer sheet. So the role of the ECI is a major concern here. If the ECI was fair, transparent, like TN Session G, who was there, like who managed ECI very well, we wouldn't have this problem today. I think ECI's role needs to be reviewed, and something has to be done with that institution, like some reform or something that in future such like it's transparent and it's like kept away from the government, like how the Supreme Court's stature is, like it's independent, isn't it? So I think something has to be done in that matter as well, like something has to be done with the ECI.
The problem is we can wake up those who are really sleeping. We cannot wake up those who are pretending to sleep. See, even the well-grown democracies or technology countries like be it USA, UK or Japan, none of these countries have any of these kind of machines at a large scale. So why they are not using it? Because this is about trust and a very important thing as to protect the democracy, right? You see, if we start asking a lot of common sense questions, this whole fallacy and the arguments, whatever put by Election Commission and many of the institutions, will fall flat. But I don't know whether they want to hear it openly, be it Supreme Court or Election Commission. So Vijayalakshmi, quickly go to you. Go.
Yeah, so one last comment since I started this. Actually, I do believe BJP is the kind of party which wants to exploit the system in every which way possible. So whatever system you put in place, they will find the loopholes to exploit it to their satisfaction, the way they did with GST and now with EVM. So, I understand that point.
Yeah. I was surprised that PM, I was surprised. Excuse me. Yeah. Sorry, Vijayalakshmi, go ahead.
When UPA comes back to power, hopefully it will, India Coalition now. India Coalition, when it comes to power, we have to ensure that no such loopholes is left for, other parties in the future to exploit. Yes, go ahead, Sam.
No, I was surprised that at G7, PM talked about this in a very subtle way. That we got confidence and transparency because of EVM.
And electoral bonds.
Yeah. I don't know why he would make that comment at G7, but,
Sam, my entire thesis of the right-wing attack on you is because you are the only sole voice inside Congress who are championing the EVM issues again and again. And I think they don't want to have this conversation. They don't
That's
want
okay. That's their privilege. I have no issue with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mata, you have any other questions from the space to sum up?
I think there is one. Rajendran, can you unmute yourself?
Be quick, very brief, guys.
Yeah, I think. Rajendran, can you hear me? Can you unmute and ask your question?
Yeah. So I'm first of all, good evening, good morning, everyone, and especially Sam.
Thank you.
So it's disappointing, for me that in 2024 also, again, we are talking EVM. I am a strong against EVM proponent, and I went into many of the spaces, Congress spaces, and very disappointed that a lot of people were against speaking that. And that itself was kind of, discouraging for me. The reason they gave is that, if you talk EVM, then people will be discouraged to come and vote. And that's one of the reasons there's a huge pushback.
Yes.
So my thought is that we should go to ballot, but I think somebody in this call said that that intensity is missing within Congress and within, the subgroups of Congress. The intensity, the same vigor is missing. I know Rahul Gandhi spoke once that EVM Atma is the king has
Raja ki Atma EVM mein hai.
Yeah.
I think this has become a people's issue. Yeah, I think this has become a people's issue, and people as voters will have to champion it. And we should, and we will. Okay.
Thank you, Rajendran. Thanks for the comment. Thanks for the response, Sam.
One other thought. Today, I think Elon Musk tweeted, because the Puerto Rico elections came out and there was discrepancies in EVM, but they were able to rectify it with paper trail matching, which of course the Supreme Court did not allow. But I think there was a tweet from Elon Musk saying that going forward everything should be ballot paper only, because AI also coming through and he has no trust in it. I think we should really harp on this, and I'm not sure if you're going to have the next 5 years.
Maybe people will pay attention now that Elon Musk has said something.
Maybe Elon Musk should
Let me tell you why. There is a golden rule. One who has gold makes the rule.
Okay.
Yeah.
So true, that's that. And Elon Musk should ask his friend, esteemed friend Narendra Modi, why he is not willing to conduct on a paper ballot.
One with gold has spoken.
Yeah.
Okay, our speaking don't matter. We don't have the gold.
Correct.
So why would anybody take us seriously?
Correct. No, but the problem with Elon Musk is he's not speaking about India and his friend Narendra Modi.
Doesn't matter, but whatever he says, people will pay attention because he is holding a lot of gold. Anyway, with this, thanks everybody.
Anup, you want to ask anything quickly as a last thing?
Yeah, I have a comment about
quickly. Go ahead.
The moral appeal given to Prime Minister of India that Dr. Pitroda gave in his beginning address. So I think that we should do humbly. We know the machine could be designed very well, but it is the heart of the person who handles that machine.
Agree, 100%.
So I think appeal to PM should be given again and again. And who knows, someday his heart might melt and the moral might come out.
Good, very good, very good.
Sam, I thanks a lot, Anup. Sam, I want to take a minute. There are maybe 4 or 5 comments from the community.
Sure.
Mediga Murthy is talking about, unfortunate, we have completed general elections with a doubtful mind, and as per the media reports, 140 MP constituencies where there have been seen thousands and lakhs of votes difference between the polled votes and the EVM counting. It's not clear how many machines were readied and how many were replaced by the EC. Its data is not available with the government or EC. With all these lingering doubts, how we can trust, so which is a very good interesting thing. And Rahul link. Okay, so I think a lot of hard work has been done. And Joseph Brito is saying actually the BJP total seat should not exceed 100. Now most of this belongs to the Congress. So and Rahul, I don't know which Rahul. So maybe Rahul Gandhi. Rahul is saying EVM should be banned, else give VVPAT slips to be deposited in external box, and these boxes should be protected. I think there are a bunch of other things. EVM was first brought in. I think I don't know whether this is correct fact. Srinik Seth from LinkedIn is saying EVM was first brought in 2004 by Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Is that right, Sam? Or I don't know.
I don't know exact date.
Okay. So Ilamurugan N is from LinkedIn saying the EVM has given so much of confidence that no party can tamper or do anything on in paper balloting. No, I don't think so. We are not subscribing to this view, Ilamurugan. So, and Beverly Matthews, PM needs to have a heart in order to melt. Okay, that's a bit, Sam. So that's about it. I think it was a very good show. I
Thank
think
you.
just for 1 hour 34 minutes. We have 500 viewers right now as we speak. I think
Great.
it is going to be one another important show which Sam has done along with the community. Thanks a lot,
All
Sam.
of you have done. I'm just one of you.
Thank you.
Okay. You all make things happen.
Thank you.
Okay. So I just show up. I don't do any work. Okay.
No,
You guys do all the work.
No, but
You know,
need
calling
to-
everybody, organizing, doing the background work. Okay.
But
This is
you
an
are the-
advantage when you get old.
No, but you are the magnet who are bringing all of us together, Sam.
Oh, I don't know, but thank you all. Really appreciate, love you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
make
Thank you very much.
Next week.
Thank
Bye.
you, sir. Thanks, Sean. Bye.
Thank you all.
Thanks.